What is going on, YouTube? Welcome to Vortix versus Jordan, a decider set in between these two players to qualify for the $20,000 EGC Genesis main event. Only 8 players qualify. One of these two will be there at the main event. Vortix, the brother of Lucifer, another very good Age of Empires 4 player with StarCraft background. Vortix himself has StarCraft and Warcraft background as well, I believe. Whereas Jordan, he is coming from an Age of Empires 2 background exclusively. Let's take a look at the first game right away. As I mentioned this before in the other casts I did, and if you're seeing this one, you probably have seen some other. These are recorded games from the qualifiers played today. I casted some of the games from the qualifiers on the main channel of EGC, so those VODs will be out on their YouTube, and the sets I didn't cast and seem interesting, I will cast on my channel. So, the civilization selection rules are simple. You can pick whatever civilization you want in the first game, and after that, you cannot pick the civilization that you have won with again. So, as we have seen it very frequently, it's gonna be a French mirror. On the right side, it is Jordan as red, and on the left side, we will have Vortix as blue. Looking at the maps real quickly, Jordan's got a pretty decent map here, I would say. This gold mine and the berries are somewhat sheltered by the forest, and they're sort of on the back side of Jordan's DC. But this is an important area for Jordan. If he loses this part of the map, he's gonna be in trouble, because he's going to lose both gold income and food income. Meanwhile, for Vortix, his map is a lot more open. The berries are nice at the back, but this gold mine is absolutely horrendous, and it's right next to another gold mine over here, so not really a fan of Vortix's map. Jordan's map is alright. Vortix's one is underwhelming, as you see blue getting housed here for a bit of a moment. Meanwhile, for Jordan, he's already 2 on gold. So, let's talk about these two players over here, because Jordan, member of Gamer Legion, he has been grinding quite heavily for this tournament. I'm fairly certain that he has spent time with Taro, Viper, Nilly, potentially Slam and Doubt as well, practicing, although I think Doubt and Slam probably practice together. They usually do that. And then Jordan probably spent time with either Taro or Viper in all certainty when it comes to practice. Whereas on the other side, I'm not so sure about Vortix. He may have had a practice partner himself, but obviously depends on what players you know. I think the obvious selection for Vortix as a practice partner is probably Lucifron. As I said, the two players are brothers of each other, so arranging things is probably rather easy for them, and they would both benefit from practicing together because they're both pretty high-level AoE 4 players. Both of these players are considered candidates to qualify for the main event. In fact, I would say that Vortix might even be the favorite against Jordan over here. Still, I have seen Jordan with the French build and he seemed quite powerful. I've seen a French mirror between him and Nilly, and he was just crystal clean with his build order, and in general, based on like mechanical terms, Jordan's execution is very good in games. He's got a lot of tournament experience as well, so this could be a close matchup here. School of Cavalry coming in for both players here. We will have Vortix placing it on the gold mine to defend it, whereas for Jordan, it's actually coming up right next to this DC. I'm not so sure about this one. The idea for him is probably that he wants to pop out those knights, and this is probably the place where he's closest to the opponent's base with his production building. Placing it over here at the back would mean that those units need to walk so much to get to the front of his base. On the other hand, it leaves this gold mine and these berries quite open, so that could be a bit of a concern for Jordan in the long run. Right now, Vortix is using 2 villagers to age up with the School of Cavalry. Jordan is going for 3. Now, in the previous set that Vortix has played, in which he defeated Kelazhur, Team Liquid's StarCraft player, Vortix actually went for a very wood-heavy build with the French, and he built the barracks almost instantly, and the blacksmith as well. So the blacksmith would give him 1 extra attack, and once he starts adding spearmen with the barracks, he's gonna be able to swing the battles in his favor. And did he accidentally select his villagers here, send them back to gold? It feels like it. This is a mistake from Vortix. This can't be intentional, right? The villagers are not building the landmark, and yeah, now you see that he's sending it back. That's gonna be a couple of lost seconds there for Vortix, not necessarily ideal, because Jordan's about to finish his own landmark over here. So, Looks like the landmark is done for Jordan. Vortix actually scrambles, and now he's got 5 villagers building it, so he won't be that much behind. You see, he's got 240 wood, so he could afford a second stable potentially, or a blacksmith. We will see what he does. For Jordan, it looks like it's just gonna be one school of cavalry built here. Now, the thing is that Kelazhur did the exact same thing against Vortix, and Vortix won those fights. So that's an alarming sign for Jordan. And considering that there is very, very little downtime in between the sets, it's very possible that Jordan wasn't able to check what his opponent was doing. By rule in the tournament, the players had to start the next round the moment both players were ready. So if, let's say, Jordan was still playing in the previous round and Vortix finished a little faster, Jordan had 0 time to check what his opponent did. Or maybe he had a couple of minutes, but definitely not a lot of time to evaluate what his opponent was doing. Here comes a blacksmith indeed. With that blacksmith, you get the attack upgrade for free with the French, which helps in your knights. The thing is that it's not a big buff at the beginning, but it's something that's a rather small investment. You just have to make the blacksmith itself, which is like 150 wood, and you're gonna get a nice combat boost to your knights. And that basically means that your knights will just be slightly stronger than the opponent's ones, so you will have just enough advantage to make sure that you're not getting destroyed by the opponent's knights. In fact, you will probably be able to be the aggressor. There's the second stable for Vortix. What is Jordan up to? He's going for his own stable as well. So very, very similar builds here. Looks like Jordan is moving out for a hunt. It's a little risky, because you see it's really far away from the TC. So if Vortix comes in here to push this, that could be troublesome. Jordan could really make a defensive tower here if he can afford it, simply because he wants to be able to garrison the villagers inside that tower if a raid comes in. Looks like Jordan's gonna play defensive though and just gallop out to the knights, try and protect this patch of huntables. Vortix, on the other hand, isn't moving out for the hunt just yet. He is taking the sheep. Here come the knights. Looks like 2 of them will be moving to the left, 2 to the right. So it might be a 2-pronged attack. And you see, Vortix has scouted this gold mine. Remember, this is very exposed for Jordan here. And I feel like Vortix might try to hit the huntables and the gold at the same time. Jordan's knights are on the huntables, but I feel like if Vortix hits this gold, Jordan will pull the knights to the left side, and then Vortix can come in from the right side and sweep the villagers. I feel like that's the game plan. Vortix probably suspects that Jordan is out here on the hunt. He may have even scouted it. But the idea probably is that he just wants to stretch out Jordan's attention. Here come the knights, and you see, the moment that these knights come in on the left side, the ones on the right side will come in, and you see Jordan react to those knights on the left immediately, but as he's doing it, his villagers on the right side will start to get slaughtered, and when the dust settles, Jordan is off from gold, and he lost 2 villagers on the hunt in a mirror. That's just so bad for him. There's chivalry in already for Jordan, as his opponent is just now finishing that upgrade, but now I think we are seeing Vortix playing from an advantage. It's not a big advantage, but it's an advantage, and that's something that helps immensely in the mirror. And now that Jordan is chasing down those knights on the right side, Vortix can once again try to dive in and pick off 2 or 3 villagers on that gold mine. Currently, Jordan's at 29 villas, and Vortix is at 32, so there's a 3 villagers lead for a blue player as things stand. And if Vortix does the same thing as he did against Kelazhur, the next step for him is adding spearmen to swing the battles in his favor. Another charge, and that's another 2 villagers down here from Jordan, and potentially 1 more even. Villagers on the bear is going down also hurt for Jordan because his food income is going to be weaker because of that. He still has the hunt on the right side, as he now made a defensive tower on it, but he's off from gold, he's off from wood, or food, excuse me, on the left side. Not looking great for Jordan, I'm not gonna lie. Knights are coming in though. Looks like Vortix is pulling the villagers here to make sure that no one gets picked off by those knights, and now I feel like it's just brute force numbers for Vortix. Because Vortix was never off from his resources, so he can just continuously make knights, whereas for Jordan, you see that that stable is pretty much all idle, and it looks like Jordan's just gonna call it. That's it. We can argue if this is a premature GG or not, but if you consider the fact that this is a Mirror Civilization matchup, Jordan knows exactly that he lost like 5 villas already in Feudal Age, and that he's completely off from gold. He probably feels like he has no tools to secure that gold mine, and he might be right on that. Unfortunately, stats are unavailable after the game here, so that's a little bit of an annoyance over here when we are checking out recorded games. But I think the key thing was pretty obvious. That two-pronged attack by Vortix, as I said, French mirror being so punishing is just brutal. It was like 9 minutes of a game and it was over, simply because Vortix was able to pick off two villagers on the left, two on the right, and that starts to snowball the game here. Now Vortix has lost his French, whereas Jordan could still go for French, and it looks like Jordan's home map will be Hill and Dale, a map that French love to play on, very defendable, they can boom really heavily, but it looks like we'll have an English mirror here. That's actually bad for Jordan, I believe. Because if you think about the fact that French is currently considered the best civilization in the game, based on what we have seen in the tournament, Jordan not picking it for his second match is a little surprising. So he could potentially have a civilization advantage with French, especially on this map that's very much focused on the economy of the players, since it's a very well defendable map. French could be an extremely good civilization here, but with a Britain mirror, we're actually going to see completely even civilization terms for the two players. On the right is Jordan as blue, and Vortix is on the left with red. Unfortunately, there is no way to flip the player colors. I really apologize for that. I probably know it's going to be very annoying for the viewers, because previous game, I think Jordan was red and Vortix was blue. I think it depends on who is host and who is guest in the lobby, but the players themselves cannot select their colors. This was a common question in the YouTube comment sections on whether or not players can choose, colors like yellow, green, or so. The answer is that there is yellow, green, purple as colors, but the players cannot choose it. You automatically get assigned a color when you're playing a game, and the higher colors like green, yellow, and so, they only get assigned in team games. So in 1v1s, it's always going to be blue and red, and I think it comes down to who is host and who is guest. So that's the reason why we have flipped colors over here. I know it's annoying, but I can't do anything against it, unfortunately, so still, apologies for that. Alright, looking at the golds real quick, Jordan's got all three of his gold mines exposed on the far right, not necessarily ideal. Whereas on the left side, we'll have that for Vortix as well, so the two players have quite similar maps. This big gold is actually a little more exposed, I think, for Vortix than the big gold of Jordan is. Overall, the maps are quite well defendable for both players. There is always, I think, 3 crossings that you have to wall on this map. For Vortix, that's actually one very narrow on the southern part of his base, pretty narrow as well in the middle, and a slightly wider crossing on the north. Whereas for Jordan, a rather wide crossing here on the right side, a fairly wide one in the middle, and also wide one on the north as well. So Jordan's gonna have to invest a little more into walls in here. Looks like Jordan is going for a fast feudal build here with the villagers on gold and food. No villagers being sent to stones, so it looks like it's gonna be a 1 TC build, or at least based on the current balance of economy. That seems to be the case, although Jordan is starting to chop some wood, and I feel like he doesn't necessarily need it right now if he's just going for some sort of longbows. He can add those villagers on wood a little later, so maybe he will think about the second town center, and once he's got the gold, he's just gonna send those villagers on stone or something. Meanwhile, on the other side, we do have a mill already out here for Vortix. He's even grabbing the villager hunting upgrade. It takes some time until that upgrade pays off, because it's a pretty expensive upgrade. It's 50 wood and 100 gold. But once, like, we are at 5 or so minutes in this game, I think that it's gonna pay off for Vortix. And while his field age is going to be a little slower than his opponent's one, that upgrade is definitely going to have its effect. So far, not really a lot of walling, as Jordan is going up with the council hall. He is sending villagers to stone, so he will play with a second town center. Now, I'm not 100% sure why Jordan is making this council hall over here. That's a weird location. I understand that if he makes it on the front, it's a little dangerous, because if his opponent has more archers, he can just camp that production building down and pick off the newly made longbowmen one by one. But placing it all the way at the back here is a little interesting, I would say. Meanwhile, on the other side, we have Council Hall coming in as well for Vortix. I actually like his Council Hall placement a little bit better here. Will be pretty close to his gold mines as well. Jordan will see that Council Hall, so he knows exactly what his opponent is up to. Looks like there is going to be a second town center in the plans of Vortix as well. I feel like this is one of those maps where you have to just play 2 town centers at minimum. It's well defendable, so if you play 1 TC and your opponent is rolling, you just won't be able to do enough damage to compensate for your eco deficit. So it's a 2 TC type of a map. For now, it looks like there is basically no walls coming in from either of the players. I'm looking at the resources. Jordan's looking a little bit better with the wood and stone count. He's almost up to feudal. His opponent is slightly slower to feudal age, of course, because he had to invest into that otherwise quite expensive hunting upgrade. But it's already starting to pay off here. And the fact that he's gonna have that extra income of food will help quite a bit when he's making villagers on 2 town centers. So Jordan up to feudal. The TC here could be absolutely amazing on the berries and on the hunt. In general, players are building their additional town centers close to food sources at the beginning. On the other hand, Jordan's golds here are so exposed that you could justify a town center over here as well, close to the golds, just to protect them. Especially considering that the players aren't really rolling. Not a single longbowman coming out from Jordan. So it looks like he's just banking up wood for a town center. He can almost afford one, and it looks like the TC will come up here on the food. Oh, he's missing stone. He tried to force up the stone so that he has 300, but that wasn't really the case. He needs to have a little bit more. Now it's enough. So there is the TC. On the hunt and on the berries, that's the usual way of playing it on this map. Whereas on the other side, Feudal Age is just in for Vortix. He can afford a town center in a matter of moments as well. And I see a couple of longbowmen queued up here, then cancelled, so we will just have 1 or 2 out for Vortix. Considering that he almost depleted his huntables, it might not be worth it to place his TC here, especially because the mill is close by as well. So for Vortix, I feel like you can justify that TC on the gold. Looks like Jordan is adding a couple of longbowmen himself. As I said, not a lot of rolling. I feel like the players are just thinking about, okay, if I'm not getting pushed, I might not roll, because rolling is a big investment, and they're probably just trying to save up on the cost of the rolls. Interesting town center placement here for Vortix. It's gonna be on the wood line, and it's a nice TC overall. I just feel like protecting gold mines could have been a slightly better choice. Of course, the advantage of having a TC here is that you can send the newly made villagers immediately on wood, and currently you don't need gold. So if you make your TCs on the gold, you will have to send them away to the other side of your base, and that's making them quite inefficient. In the long run, a TC on the gold would be better, but in Feudal Age, placing it on other resources like wood or food is probably a priority. I still believe that both players have quite exposed gold mines, and that's something that's worth looking into. Look at how Jordan is keeping track of those longbows moving up with his scout. He knows exactly that there is 3 longbowmen coming in, and he's about to match them here on the battlefield. He can even try to take this hill here for some added vision. That would be pretty nice from Jordan. Looks like he is coming in with longbows. Since these longbows train so fast, it's very easy for Jordan to reinforce this position, and it takes quite a lot of time to Vortix to run through the map. So Jordan should always have the numbers advantage over here, simply because he can just rally his forces so fast. As he's moving out though, and he's moving closer and closer to Vortix's base, the roles will shift, and the player that we are closer to will have the advantage when it comes to reinforcing the battle and pumping out those archer numbers. Oh, Jordan is hiding his forces in the stealth forest right now. His scout is also hiding in here, so you see, the idea probably is that his scout will see the archers moving forward, and the archers from the stealth forest will jump on it. It's a very smart idea, and you see, he's able to pick off 1 or 2 archers over here. Nice micro so far by Jordan. Looking at the archer numbers though, that seems to be rather even. Looking at the upgrades real quick, I don't think that we have attack upgrades for either of the players. Looks like Vortix will retreat for the time being. Jordan might disengage if he sees additional archers coming in for Vortix. Jordan actually garrisoned the TC here, trying to take down the scout of his opponent. The scout actually survives with 7 HP. Pretty important for Vortix because he needs that vision in the future. Meanwhile, looking at the villager count, it is 36 for Jordan, and for Vortix, it's 35. So, dead even game so far. Quite a big food bank, by the way, for Jordan. He's also getting some more gold in. Looking at the resource income, Jordan is mining less gold, but he's got an insane food income, man. What is he doing, even? A lot of villagers on berries and hunt, that's what he's doing. Meanwhile, on the other side, looks like the hunt is gone, so now we're seeing farms from Vortix. Looking at those mills, it looks like both farms are actually in the influence radius of a mill. And I see a blacksmith coming in for a red player, so he's gonna grab that attack and defense upgrade. So Vortex still wants to be aggressive here, and I understand that. Jordan hasn't really been walling, so you could justify investing into an army here and trying to punish Jordan for that. The thing is that if Jordan loses his army here, Vortex can run in on this side because I think it's outside the range of the town center. Indeed, it is. So the longbows could potentially hit this area, and that would be pretty massive. Vortex looks like he is moving up right now. Jordan should keep his scout on this hill, I believe, because that would give him insane vision. Being on elevation gives you a bigger line of sight, and having a scout here would let him see everything that happens down here in this valley. It would be such a nice piece of vision for him. Looks like at this pace, we're progressing towards Castle Age. Both players banking up food, and they're starting to collect gold as well. Still some more longbows are being added. When it comes to Vortex, he is grabbing his attack upgrade. Defense upgrade is yet to be researched, as currently he's just amassing archers. He isn't really moving out with them though, so I feel like the early attack upgrade won't pay off here for him, simply because he won't be taking fights anytime soon. Whereas for Jordan, he's just going to spend those resources on an earlier castle age. Over here there is an archer range being added as well. Vortex coming in with Woes now, as Jordan just left his base with his scout. Jordan has been actively scouting his opponent's base here, so he knows exactly that his opponent doesn't have any like sticky stables up, which could pop out a couple of scouts. It's just full longbow wars, and it looks like Jordan is also coming in with a wall. That scout could actually try to harass that villager, but the wars will probably go up anyways. So it looks like both players are coming in with the entrenchments for the time being. 80 population reached for Jordan. He's housed for a brief moment. He's at 53 villas, and Vortex is at 52, so very much of an even game here. A defensive tower coming in for Vortex. He's mainly building this so that he actually extends the range of the network of castles bonus. So you see, all of his units inside this circle now will receive 25% attack boost when any enemy unit is within this circle. So this helps so much for Vortex to take a fight over here. Meanwhile, you see, Vortex is currently looking at this gold mine, checking out how many villagers Jordan has on that gold. He even sees the gold miners here, so based on the fact that there is like 7 or so gold miners for Jordan, he should probably know that Jordan is going up soon. Vortex building his own Castle Age landmark with 14 villagers, and that's why he didn't build his TC here. He's going for King's Palace here, which is basically a third town center for the English. He can just place it right here, and I would expect something similar from Jordan. He is also going for King's Palace, but somewhere else, all the way up here on the front. Interesting idea. It's going to achieve the same thing as the outpost did for Vortex, so it's going to extend the radius of the network of castles bonus, and that will also include the stealth forest here, so there is definitely high potential here for Jordan for ambushing, and his gold mine for now is safe. But I still believe that this might be an exposed area in the future, so that's something that needs to be considered. Vortex and Jordan hitting Castle Age pretty much at the same time. So Jordan's main reason of building this King's Palace landmark over here is that there's a lot of berries here and he just wants to grab those. But those will expire pretty soon, and then this town center will be a little bit underwhelming. I kind of like this DC a lot more from Vortex. This is going to be a good long-term town center even, so it's going to help you with farming eco in the future, because it's rather safe. This one is much more exposed. Looks like it's still just chill booming game over here. We have Steel Arrow, the first attack upgrade coming in for Jordan, whereas for Vortex, he already has the first attack and defense upgrade in for the archers, but he's missing resources for the second one. Looks like knights will be mixed in though. Jordan has an archer range, so he can mix in some crossbowmen to deal with them, and he's getting the campfire upgrade right now. But he needs to know that knights are coming, and that's the big deal here. If he sees the knights, he's gonna know that he will need a couple of crossbowmen. But Vortix looks like he is actually switching pretty heavily to Knights. This double stables coming in for him. Looks like Jordan is just now moving out. He's got Veteran Longbowman already in. And let's see when Jordan is going to spot those archers slash knights. Looks like he's crawling up through the stealth forests over here. And it seems like the knights are about to fall on top of Jordan's base from the north. I think Jordan is fully walled here, and this is actually an ideal scenario for Jordan. If he sees those knights, because they start attacking the walls, that would be great, but it looks like the knights will change course and might be heading towards this area. Now, Jordan's army is quite exposed here, and it could easily get surrounded by a decent amount of knights if there is some more from Vortix. You see, Jordan now spots the knights, and they can just absorb so much damage here. Even if they don't kill a lot, it's just... you need 3 or 4 volleys for Jordan to kill 2 knights, and behind this one, Vortix's army is just capable of tearing apart those longbows. You see, longbow numbers 27 for Jordan, about 30-ish for Vortix, but Jordan doesn't have any kind of meat shield in front of those longbows, and you see, Jordan just has to microwave from those knights. This is the problem here. The moment the knights hit the field, those longbows will become very, very sad, and even if the knights aren't the primary damage dealing unit over here for Vortix, it's just the fact that he's absorbing so much damage with them, and now even the network of castles bonus actually extends over here. You see that TC has a slight radius effect over here, so I would say that this was an absolutely amazing fight here for Vortix. The network of castles didn't really matter over there for that brief moment. The thing that really mattered was that there was something that absorbs the damage of Jordan, and that allows Vortix to just shoot at the longbows of the opponent. If we look at the KD for a brief moment, 34 kills by Vortix, 10 losses only, and this is a decider game. If Vortix wins this game, he's in Genesis main event and Jordan will be out. Looks like the longbows are coming in, and I see villagers being pulled forward by Vortix. That's going to be for double siege workshops. So, since we are seeing sort of an archer mirror gameplay right now, I really feel like Mangonels could be the idea here for Vortix. Currently has a pretty considerable lead in terms of score. Jordan's economy is still powerful, but Jordan just lost the majority of his army. Vortix currently sitting at 40 army, and Jordan is just at 20, so double the army right now for him. But the defensive tower over here and the springboard will help quite a bit for Jordan to hold this position and sort of slow down the game to a point where he can sort of even things out. And you see more and more crossbows will be added here. Now, if Vortix has good micro, he can pick off the crossbowmen, and then the knights can still take good fights, but it's gonna be difficult because what you will see from Jordan is like a big mass of archers and crossbowmen. Focusing down the crossbowmen individually is extremely difficult simply because they're gonna be in the middle of a group of longbows. So that's gonna be a tough challenge for Vortix. Here come the knights though, trying to set this wall on fire, and they will do quite a decent amount of torch damage against this one. I'm not even sure if Jordan can hold these walls long enough. I think if he pulls villagers, he can still repair them until the crossbows arrive to help this out, but it looks like Jordan will just let those units in, and will try to take a fight close to this outpost. This outpost, once again with the network of castles boost, would help immensely, and it looks like Vortix will change his mind and retreat. This might have just been a diversion though, because it looks like we're actually seeing trebs coming in, not just one, but 2 trebs. So it's just full siege, trying taking down the King's Palace over here. It's already under fire. And you see Jordan's army right now is very, very slow moving, so he came in here to react to this right-hand side push, and while that was happening, Vortix sets up the trebs, and he's taking down this town center over here. Knights also in pretty decent numbers for Vortix. The crossbows will try to pick them off. Longbows will have to focus down those crossbows from Vortix. King's Palace still under fire. Looks like Jordan is repairing though, and I see a springboard out as well for him, so there's a chance he can try picking off those trebs, but there are springboards as well from Vortix. More springboards coming in alongside a Mangonel, and I feel like Vortix's army here is just way too big for Jordan to handle. 48 army for him, and Jordan is sitting at 38 actually. Not that bad, but the springboards do get picked off here from Jordan. Look at this. This springboard for Vortix is actually hidden in a stealth forest. That's just such a big thing here. This guy is just sneaking in here, picking off all the siege from Jordan. Jordan's TC here is still holding, but it's being trapped down by 2 trebuchets. There is a mangonel coming in soon as well. This is going to be a difficult defense for Jordan, because he needs to avoid those mangonel shots, and that's going to be a pretty big mangonel shot on top of those longbows. Another mangonel shot could come in. Oh, this is going to be so hard for Jordan. That mangonel shot misses for the time being. Jordan could deploy the healing campfires, but even then, at some point, he's just gonna lose so many resources repairing that TC. Another big mangonel hit came in, and you see that Springald is trying to focus down the Springald of Jordan here. Big mangonel shot as well, and I feel like now Jordan is getting pushed back. You could actually argue to take down the tower quickly with the trebs, and then sort of push up the knights, try and stop the villagers from repairing. The tower is now dead. And I feel like the big thing here is that mangonel, now 2 mangonels coming in from Vortix. Jordan's gonna have to be very, very careful with the micro, but he eats a big mangonel shot. And it's just now a very, very battered army of crossbows and longbowmen. Another mangonel shot would wipe out this entire army. As you see, the mangonels are already shooting at the archer ranges over here. Jordan trying to regroup with a pretty heavily battered army of longbowmen and crossbows. Trying to get some springolds out to snipe the siege of the opponent. The Springolds do set up, and they do take down 1 mangonel, maybe? Yep, 1 mangonel goes down. Springold's coming in, though, from Vortix as well to snipe them, and he's just diving in with the knights. I think he has enough knights to snipe the siege here, and if that's the case, once again, the mangonels can set up. Jordan is gonna get surrounded, and I feel like this is the end of Jordan here. In Genesis qualifiers, he has gotten to the final round, which is a pretty decent achievement, I would say. Nothing to shy away from, being in the top 16 of the first AoE 4 tournament. But he will fall short to Vortix, who's looking extremely powerful, I'm not gonna lie. It's gonna be very interesting to see him in the main event of Genesis, because he is going to qualify for the first major tournament of Age of Empires 4.